I learned this song from a silly cartoon. From a cartoon. Who knew cartoons could have such beautiful music? But the thing that I would like to kind of riff on today is learn the music you love, whether it's from a cartoon, whether it's from a movie, whether it's from your alarm clock, whether it's punk or metal or hardcore or 50s music. Like, the most important thing is that we learn the music that we love. We study the music that we enjoy. Enjoyment is super, super important. And a lot of times when we talk about progress, we focus on hard work, which is also important. We focus on doing the right thing, which, it's helpful to have a plan. It's helpful to have a plan that works. But sometimes when we think about progress, when we have conversations about progress, we forget about enjoyment. And I think one of the reasons is that enjoyment on its own does not help with progress. And if you identify with kind of being in a rut or being in a plateau, you have evidence of this. You're likely feeling in a bit of a rut or a plateau because maybe you've been only focusing on things that you enjoy. And if you're only looking at enjoyment and never challenging yourself, then yeah, you're not going to make progress. So I think a lot of times we say, okay, I'm only doing stuff that I enjoy. Now let's change it and only do hard stuff that I don't enjoy. And that's not a good long-term plan either. Basically, we want to have that challenge. We want to have an appropriate challenge, but then we also want to enjoy the experience. The beautiful thing about enjoyment is it means that the experience of playing the guitar and learning more about the guitar in and of itself it becomes motivating when it's enjoyment. The very technical behavioral psychology word for it would be reinforcement. The activity itself becomes positive reinforcement. And the more that happens, the more that we're just more likely to actually pick up the guitar and play consistently. And if we're playing consistently, then it's going to be a lot more likely that we're going to make a lot of progress and reach our goals. So enjoyment, while in and of itself does not yield progress, I think that enjoyment is a very, very important part of making progress, at the very least in the long term. I mean, for a couple weeks or a couple months, you can grind something out and do something that you don't enjoy doing, but it's not sustainable, especially when it comes to the guitar. It's not sustainable to just like grind it out for years and years. All of the greatest guitar players that I look up to, and have some of them have I learned from, and some of them I've never met because they're legends, or maybe they're unfortunately not with us anymore. All of them enjoyed the process. They just loved playing guitar, and that was an essential part of it. So I learned this song from a cartoon. It's called Over the Garden Wall, and it's some of it is silly, but some of it is kind of serious. It's a little bit artsy, but I just love it. I mean, if you've never seen Over the Garden Wall and you love things that are kind of like fall-esque and maybe just a little bit spooky, then I can't recommend it enough. It has some incredible music in it, and I could talk for hours and hours about the arrangements and the instrumental choices, as well as the performance choices, the way that they recorded the music, they recorded it almost purposefully imperfect. Like a lot of the violin is like out of tune at times, and it gives it this character that is just it's so wonderful. It really brings the show together for me, in my opinion, is just the performance of the music. But yeah, so the Over the Garden Wall, they have a little intro. Obviously, most shows have little intros and there's a little music. So what I played for you was the intro music for the cartoon. Now, actually, this is where the intro music stops. Because it's a short intro, right? So there's only so much music. So I kind of took it upon myself to write the rest of it. So everything that I played after that is actually my own composition. So this section. Um, that all that second stuff I wrote. So oops. I kind of wrote most of it. I guess I wrote more than I learned. But I would never have written that if I hadn't learned the thing that I liked from a silly cartoon. And a lot of times that happens too, is like we learn stuff not so that we can just play it, but that so we can understand what we like about it, and then get what we like about that music into our own playing, into our own vocabulary, so that we can express ourselves and create our own ideas that are interesting and novel and new and fun. And that's exactly what happened. Like, since in my opinion there was only like half of a melody to learn, I took it upon myself to finish the melody, and I tried the best that I could to kind of keep it within the style of the melody and of the song itself, and try to end it in a way that was happy and heartfelt, but then also kind of mysterious, which is the spirit of the show itself. So that was a really fun kind of like composition exercise for myself. Um, but that exercise, like learning something and then writing something based off of what you learned, that is such an incredible composition exercise. And most amazing songwriters and composers, I mean, they just do that accidentally. uh yeah, it's so exciting. I have so many thoughts. I'm trying to choose which ones to talk about. I think I've covered mostly everything that I want to talk about. Just very simply, learn what you love. You don't need any permission from anybody else to learn what you love. It doesn't need to be the right song. It doesn't need to be the right concept. I mean, when you're learning music theory and you're studying the fundamentals, it does help to learn things in a certain order. But when it comes to learning music and expressing yourself and developing that relationship with music, learn what you love. Whatever lights you up inside, whatever you enjoy, follow that. That's what I would encourage anyone to do. It's been very helpful, I think, that advice. Okay, the last thing I'll talk about is the idea of modulation. So modulation is when we go from one key to another. And that's what I did at the end of the song, is I modulated from the key of C to the key of D. How the heck did that happen? The key of C, there's no sharps and flats. The key of D, we have two sharps and flats. So they're different scales. They're different keys. So how the heck did that happen? Well, after resolving to C, I did something sneaky. I played a G minor, which is moody, and it's technically not in the key. It's not in the key of C. But the interesting thing is that it's also not in the key of D. So there's a lot of kind of tricky stuff going on here. So we got that G minor, and then we have F, which is in the key of C, but not in the key of D. And then I played this chord, which this chord is E flat, and I believe it's the sharp 11. I just had to check. E flat with the sharp 11 on top. And I'm actually, I'm trying to explain this simply without going into all the nitty-gritty details and being confusing. So we have an E flat, and then we resolve down 1/2 step to D. And instead of trying to explain all of the theory behind, oh, here we go here, here we go here, here we go here, it's a lot more simple than that. I just have like a strong melody, and then I harmonize and put stuff under that melody. So I start with this note, and I harmonize it with the G minor, and then I do a little, and then it goes down 1/2 step, and I harmonize it, and then I take that same note and I harmonize it differently, and then I take that same note and I harmonize it differently. And it's actually, it's less, this instance of modulation is less about the theoretical explanations for how we can modulate from one key to another, and actually just very simply that since I had a strong melody and a strong top note, like the top note stayed consistent, I got to get away with a lot of more creative things happening underneath the top note. So once more, the melody is just like that's all it is. It's just those notes. So the first one with G minor, the next one with F, and then we change it. Same note, new chord, E flat. Same note, new chord, D. And then I do a cute little, and then this is just D again, but higher voicing. So these are both D. It's all D. So that's how I modulated from C to D. And when I was writing that, I was hearing the sounds in my head, but I wasn't thinking like, oh, I want to modulate. I was just like, oh, I want the melody to go here, and no, not that chord. Okay, yeah, that chord. No, not that chord. Okay, yeah, that chord. That's my experience of composition. It's really fun. I hear this stuff in my head, and then I get to actualize it in real life. And part of the reason why I'm able to actualize it like that is because I understand the fretboard. I understand what my options are. I understand the music theory. I understand what the chords are and how they function together. And so it's fun. If you're in a position where, you kind of feel like you're stuck in your progress and you'd like to kind of expand your fundamental knowledge so that you can express yourself more and compose more, I'd recommend it. It's fun. But yeah, I'll just end this how I started it. Learn what you love. No matter where it comes from, you don't need anyone else to give you permission to learn what you love. Loving music is in and of itself all the permission you need to learn it and to enjoy it. So thanks for hanging out, and I'll definitely see you in the next video.